You ever ask yourself the question, the f is that for?
I'll see you in hell.
Hey everybody, so we have the gift from Matt Kufis as he thinks about us from overseas, and it is the Eldris. So we're going to take a look at this and kind of work through logically what we might use it for, and compare it to maybe some of the other stuff we have in our kit and see how it stacks up. Okay, so the Eldris. We've seen this floating around for the last few months on the YouTube, making the rounds, getting some scrutiny from other channels. So it is our turn. Thanks, Matt, for springing for these and having them shipped over. I chose the red one. No real reason, right? So we have that. I am very interested in seeing how it's going to stack up, and the reason why I would carry this in addition to or instead of any of these more options, or maybe even something like the Real Steel Bushcraft. So does it augment these? Is it solo? Does it do its own thing? And performance-wise, what's where it's at, or where is it at? So we want to take a look at it. So let's get into it. So my first, and I guess the most obvious impression that I have on this is crafting. It's little, it's not unwieldy, it fits real nice in the pocket. It's you maintain really good positive control with this new handle, newish. I mean, this is what they've been applying to shape-wise to the Cans ball, to the Garberg, all of the newer, more focused bushcraft and outdoor knives that they've been doing it over at Mora. So there's obviously some science to it with a company like Mora that's been doing what it's been doing for as long as it has. I have big hands. This fits really nice in there, regardless of size, and it's got it's easy to maintain positive control of this thing. I haven't dove into any projects with it yet, mostly because I wanted to share your guys's or my impressions with it, raw, and just let you know what I feel, how I feel about it when I feel about it. So when I think about crafting with this, this was the feather sticks we produced with our trusty HD here, and looking at how much control you have with this knife, how the edge comes from Mora, basically surgical. These are their stainless, as you can see, so less worry about maintenance with a carbon steel blade, and the Sandik style, or their Sandik manufactured, I think it's Sandik, I'm pretty sure that's what the brand of stainless that they use, and their proprietary heat treat stuff, all of the stuff that they talk about. This thing's really effective. They're not necessarily super fine curls, but if I found myself hosed and this was the knife I had with me, I'm not going to get burned with regard to trying to get a fire going, especially because of another very important feature of this knife, which is the spine. Hard 90-degree spine, really sharp, and when you look at these heavy polished spines on something like the HD, this one's got a coating that with the companion black blade that makes it less effective, but something like designed for bushcraft, something like the Real Steel Bushcraft, I'm sorry, has a good 90-degree spine, but nowhere near as sharp as this. This thing's incredible. So we're actually going to test for the first time both the Eldris and the bushcraft side by side. So you see this has some jimping that may cause some issues. This does not have that same issue. So we'll take a look at it. So what we're going to do is just take advantage of the existing curls and stuff we have here. Trusty, handy dandy ferro rod, and see if we can get some, just test what kind of sparks we can get. Really good, really awesome amount of sparks coming off of this. These curls are obviously been kind of hammered a little bit. So when you look at what you get from this spine coming off of this ferro rod, that's pretty fantastic. So that's how the Mora performed. Let's take a look at the bushcraft, see what it does. So that's a good one, but so obviously it was effective. However, I had to put a fair amount more pressure using this as compared to the Eldris. Well, if anybody wanted to know, poplar apparently is a good burning wood. But if you notice, yeah, it worked. It would get some good ones. I have to definitely push down pretty hard on this. But if you look at the curls you get off of this thing, those are deep. And I was getting, roughly the same thing off the Eldris. But look at how much spark was coming off that. And so it's kind of like, if you're going to look at them and see what the capability is, as a fire starter, putting this in a fire kit, awesome value option as far as I'm concerned. As far as maintaining a, stacking up against a bushcraft knife in that regard, totally does the job. So as I mentioned before, I mean, this is really a designed for crafting. It fits in the pocket. It's meant to really be able to dig in and do some, probably, we'll try to see if we can pull off a good number 7 notch into this oak dowel real quick. Oak is one of those trees we don't see out here in Nevada very much. So it's probably much harder than the stuff we're going to be up against here. I mean, MK Ultra and I on a Wilderness Survival Challenge tried to make stakes out of the elm trees and stuff that were near us, but the ground freezes up pretty hard in the wintertime here. So I would say your best bet is bringing stuff like that. But if you're back east around the eastern woodlands with a whole lot larger selection of wood and things like that, if you can see how we're doing at this point, that's a pretty good number 7. And this had no problems with it. As I feel this edge, I'm not losing anything, in the tasking that we've been put it through. Given that I've never used this, it better be able to do what I just did right away. Being able to carve out some stakes, real fast. If you needed that type of thing, you need a frog gig, you need anything like that, this thing's pretty effective. So I'm going to give it points for the crafting abilities. And that amount of control with that shorter blade, you're not going to get too much going on there, and then you can just kind of lay into the fine stuff. Whereas if I was going to try to do this on the back end with the bushcrafter, let's see how it performs. So what I just experienced was something that I think may be the problem of diving into this with such a long blade. If you're trying to do this in a hurry, I overcut on the tip there. Whereas down here, I had a lot more control. I can really continue to dial this in. I gotta say, this knife is pretty stupendous. But this thing's not taking more bites than I want it to. This full-on Scandi grind here gets a little it's a little aggressive with the amount it's pulling off. But both these knives are factory sharp, so I'm not worried about which one would have been sharper. But I feel more control with the Eldris when I'm doing tasking like this. So from a crafting standpoint, I'll call the Eldris my pick for this particular type of thing. I'm not going to sit here and try to carve out a spoon. You want to see something like that, go over to Prepared Mind 101. William Myers does he carves out a spoon with one of these and has no trouble with it. So you can probably trust it to do that. So the next thing I guess we will talk about is how it stacks up in terms of carry options. So this is designed to be carried upside down, and you can use these holes to create a neck knife system. It's in there pretty tight. You can't really hear it rattling around there, but you get some wobble. So if I was gonna really try to get this thing out, it takes a fair amount. I bet I could do jumping jacks with this thing on, and as long as I'm doing them correctly, it's probably not going to fall out. The reason I carry this is, in the vertical configuration instead of trying to hang it upside down, is, that's in there, but it's a heavier knife, and I would much rather be in a safer situation, keeping it vertical. So, as a neck knife, the Mora might actually, or the Eldris might actually be a little bit more. This is a little unwieldy. It's a big knife. That's a 4-inch knife. That's basically a full bushcraft setup. And it could be heavy around there, and might add a little weight to your neck and get uncomfortable over time. This is a really light knife. The Eldris is. Let's check the vital stats here. It's 2.8 ounces, 80 grams. It's not super heavy. So if I had a scale, I'd like to see how this stacks up. It's a ton more weight here, and it's carried all on the handle. So if you want a lightweight option that's going to be your neck knife, I would go with this. And if you've checked out our neck knife video, you know how we feel about those. The kind of versatility you get out of that. Everybody loves a folder, but you get into an environment where you're wearing work gloves, where you're wearing big winter gloves. If you're out, this is way easier to draw than trying to get into a frame lock or, your best bet with big gloves on and you want to use something that's foldable or retractable is probably an OTF. But we definitely like our neck knives for that type of application. All right, so one of the other things that we decided that this was going to be good for after talking with a few of our peeps was like a bird and trout knife. Obviously this isn't for filleting. I wouldn't sit and spend a whole lot of time trying to skin with this. There are skinners designed for that. But if you had to, this would probably work. These are really sharp. After hitting that wood, I don't feel any degradation of this edge. So if you wanted to get started on a rabbit or a chucker or trout, anything that you were able to pick up on the field, especially out here, and you didn't want to be packing around big fillet knives and things like that, you could get this going. I'm not going to dress out a bass. I'm not probably going to spend use this as my primary tool on bigger stuff like antelope or deer here. But I wouldn't mind having it in my pocket if I had left everything back at camp and we needed to do a quick field dress. I don't see why this would fail. It's made out of stainless, so you keep it clean. You're not going to get a whole lot of rust coming from the environment that you put it in once you start dressing things out. So versatility-wise, and in the realm of neck knives, compared to, if you look at our neck knife video, the minimalist buoy from CRKT, or that silly mini tack Tonto that I use, that thing has a similar spine to this. It's really an effective fire starter, but I wouldn't want to use a Tonto blade for a lot of the tasking that this could really accomplish. So this will probably take over for that knife, and I'll end up putting that one somewhere else, because this is really well suited to what we do. So yeah, it's a win column in the neck knife category. So that is a measured response first impression of the Mora Eldris. This is a versatile little knife. $20 is a decent price to add this to your kit. If I had to make a decision right now, I would probably make this a secondary neck knife. I do prefer to have the full-size companion as a net around my neck if I'm wandering around, just so I have maximum capability. But if this was going in a day pack, a light pack, if this was going to be in my pocket, it would definitely do the job. The next thing I would put it in, if I had two of them, or just was going to have most of my tools around with me, it's probably going to find its way into my fire kit, and I'll probably end up ordering one or two more of these for that very reason, to have those in each of the go bags, get home bags, things like that, kits that go into my vehicles, so that I have a capable, ready to go fire starting knife, so that I'm just one less thing to worry about. This is a awesome budget option. For capability wise, it probably makes some of the more expensive knives out there kind of make you wonder why you spend as much as you do. So this is a great option. I would definitely recommend people pick these or multiple ones of these up, and see how it works for you. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.